Hey everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit about a scripture that I think is really relevant in today's society because I think a lot of relationships are struggling with the perception that one party in the relationship should be permitted to behave in ways that are toxic to the relationship and that the other party is held to a different standard. So, what I mean by that is there's a scripture in Genesis that talks about the husband clinging to the wife and separating from his mother and father. Now, the reason that I think that this scripture is so important from Genesis is because it talks about the need for that union between a husband and wife to be viewed as the pinnacle for that next family generation. And if one or the other of those parties continuously defers to the outside influence of one of their parents or both of their parents, they're setting up that relationship for absolute failure. The reason for this is it disempowers the other party in that relationship from being able to have a voice in the dynamics of that relationship, whether it be the care of children, whether it be big monetary decisions, all sorts of things. It's a form of stripping one of the parties in that relationship of their rights within that relationship to have an influence over things that impact them on a day-to-day basis. So what I think we need to look at when we look at whether or not a relationship is likely to remain functional for the long term is what are those people involved doing in terms of trying to strengthen that relationship? Are they continuously deferring their big life decisions to to their parents, or are they discussing it amongst themselves and resolving the issue within that unit, which is what I believe God intended? So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this because I see in society a whole lot of shaming kind of going both ways, as far as shaming of the man in the relationship for maybe not taking ownership in the relationship, in the role that he's in the way that he's supposed to, and allowing himself to be emasculated in that relationship by his extended family, or it could even be his extended, friends. It doesn't necessarily have to be family members that can cause this level of dysfunction, but all of it is problematic when that person is elevating other people above their spouse. Same thing with the woman in that relationship. If she is deferring her big life decisions to her parents or friends or family instead of consulting her relational partner to make sure that she's doing what's in the best interest of both of them, then I think that's a problem too. Another thing to think about is if one of the parties is consistently deferring to the advice of their spouse, but the other one's not, that's still setting that relationship up for failure. You have to have both people that are of the same mindset when it comes to working together on these aspects. If they're not doing that, then it doesn't matter how much one of them tries to do that. If the other person is dysfunctional, it's going to inevitably result in the relationship breaking down. So, if this is something that you're experiencing, just know that unfortunately it's very common. We live in a society that has a tendency to shame both partners in the relationship, whether it be the man in the relationship or whether it be the woman in the relationship, in the ways in which they try to facilitate communication, in the ways in which they try to facilitate growing together within that relationship. And another thing to consider too is it's important when you talk about biblical relationships and how it is stated very clearly that God intends for the wife to submit to her husband. But you also have to consider whether or not that partner or potential partner has established a pattern of behavior, a consistent pattern of behavior that is indicative that it is safe for that woman or for that woman in that relationship to submit. And what I am seeing widespread in a lot of things that are talked about in the media is that women are not conducting themselves in a manner in which a man would want to take that partner on as a wife. Additionally, there are a lot of men that are not behaving in a manner in which a woman can feel safe fully submitting to her husband. So this creates a clash within relationship dynamics, making it extremely difficult for a successful relationship to form. I guess what I'm getting at is if you're struggling with this, just know that society kind of has set you up for failure in this respect, and a lot of the messaging that you're getting through society to not really value your body, to not really value your ability to procreate, to not really wait until marriage to consummate the marriage. So if you're getting a lot of this messaging, it can be very confusing. We can see from the widespread use of dating apps that there are plenty of women out there that are willing to just do whatever and really have no standards. So if you're a woman with standards that doesn't want to be in a relationship that's not a committed relationship, if that's what you desire and you're struggling to find a partner on the same page with you about that, that is unfortunately kind of normal right now because society has normalized casual relationships, which are very psychologically damaging to both parties, in my humble opinion. I don't think that there's really anything to be gained from a bunch of casual encounters. And we're just, raised in an environment where it's just not seen that way. Relationships are not seen as sacred. Raising children is not seen as the priority anymore. A lot of people are fully career driven, and all of these things, I'm not saying that any of these are necessarily unimportant, but I think there should be a hierarchy of importance. And I don't think that as a society, we are acknowledging things in order of importance. And I also don't think that we have certain governmental structures in place that are also facilitating the best interests of the family. And ultimately, what is best for the family unit is also best for society. And if we have policies in effect that are eroding that family unit, it is eventually going to bleed into all aspects of societal function, or should I say societal dysfunction. And it's just a rampant problem that we're going to continue to witness. We're going to continue to see a whole lot of things transpire that are very harmful to nuclear families, to the children within those families, and all of these unfortunate things are going to continue until we as a society just kind of revolt and just say we've had enough of this. We're not going to participate in this anymore. It's psychologically damaging to us. It's psychologically damaging to children. So until we acknowledge that and make some serious changes, all of these dysfunctions are going to continue. I would say that if you're in a family system, and many people are, I don't know any family that's completely untouched by this level of dysfunction, but if you're in a family system where you have extended family and friends that are having too much of an influence or too heavy of an influence on your relationship with your partner, you both need to discuss that, and you need to be willing to take steps to protect that relationship that you have. If you have these discussions with your partner and your partner does not acknowledge the issue and still continues to defer these huge decisions to outside parties, it's time to end that relationship. The reason that I say this is because that behavior of disempowering you as a partner in that relationship will continue. It will never end until you have absolutely no control over any aspect of what's happening to your life. And what's happening in your life. So just do your best to avoid that if you can. And if you're already in a situation like that, do your best to mitigate it. If it can't be mitigated, then you need to be prepared or make preparations to move out of that situation and find a healthier relational partner if you choose to do that, or just choose to be alone if that's what's best for you. Ultimately, I don't think that it's in anyone's best interest to have a bunch of other people dictating their life path, their career path, how many children they can have, whether or not they can have children. I just feel like all of those things erode basic human liberties and the pursuit of happiness and, the basic constitutional rights that we're all supposed to be afforded. So if you find yourself in this situation, just know that what's happening to you is not ethical. It's likely not legal, from the standpoint of it violates your constitutionally protected rights. And you need to be willing to have very firm boundaries, and you need to be willing to fight back against that, because when we allow these things to happen to us, especially if we have children and our children are witnessing this, we're setting a precedent for our children to think that that behavior is normal. It is not normal as a wife to submit to just anyone. And it is not normal as a wife to submit to someone who, time and time again, has not consistently shown you that you're safe to do that. Who you should be submitting to first and foremost should be God. It should be your higher power. That should be the most important relationship that you have. Your spouse should come second to that relationship. And if that's not possible because the partner that you're with doesn't have a higher power, then it may be best to not be in that relationship unless they change, unless their viewpoint towards that seriously is adjusted, so that you both can be on the same page with that. Because part of your successful spiritual growth is being able to be with a partner that can nurture that and can support you in your relationship with your higher power. I don't know if this resonates with anyone. I hope that it does. If it does, feel free to leave a comment below. I would really like to know what you think about this topic. Thanks.